Hey everyone, welcome back to video number 3 on the 1977 Honda CT70. We've got a couple videos before this one, obviously, and it gives a little bit of the backstory about picking up the bike as a basket case. And we're just kind of going through and rebuilding some of the parts. And we did not get an engine with this bike, so we are putting a Lifan 125 semi-automatic in it, and which is a 12-volt engine compared to the original 6-volt engine that came in the Honda originally. So part of that is swapping over things to operate on 12 volts. The way I choose to build these bikes is to go with what the engine has. 12-volt engine, I put a wiring harness in it that is going to be designed for 12 volts. And I'm going to change all the bulbs over to 12 volts. Yes, you can buy, voltage regulators and those sorts of things and drop the 12-volt engine down and use your original lights. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but hey, everybody does their own thing. So today's video is just going to be going through some of the electrical stuff that you see on the table, cleaning it up, making sure that it works, and getting the bulbs swapped over to 12 volts. So let's zoom in, and we're going to look at the speedometer first. Hopefully I'll keep you in camera view there. So the first thing I want to do is I need to get the wiring harness and the bulbs out, and so you have to take the mount off that mounts the speedometer to the bike. And then once you have that, there's a couple other little nuts here using an 8mm wrench. Okay, sorry to bore you with that. So once you have those off of there, this bottom cap should come off. Should come off. Should come off. Why are you not coming off? It's such a good fit that if you don't have it square, coming off square, it doesn't want to work with you. There we go. And all the nastiness that falls out with it. Okay, so we've got that off. Now, once you have that off, then you can pull out the plugs for the wiring harness. Now, the speedometer, I already checked it. It does work. I put a speedometer cable on it and spun it and so forth. It works. It's clean enough for me. We don't need to take the glass off of it and clean up anything inside there. One of these days, I'll do a video on that, and these are a real pain in the butt. The only way I've ever figured out to do it is to this lip back here. You got to kind of bend it up to get this outer ring off. But for right now, all we're going to do is tape that off and then repaint it. Sorry about that. Had somebody come into the shop, so I had to stop. I think I was saying that on this, I'm just going to tape this off and repaint the base of it here, the universal aluminum, like I painted the other parts that you saw in the other videos, and just clean that up. All right, so speedometer bulbs. These are the original 6-volt bulbs. Looks like most of them are blown. They're kind of dark looking. We're going to use a 1445. Well, how old those packages are. Those just fell off of there. Hopefully the bulbs are good. Okay, and then I would like to test this to make sure that this is, the wiring harness is good and the bulbs are all good before we move forward and clean this the rest of the way up. Let's see what we've got. This one has a green and blue wire, so that's going to be a high beam indicator. This is going to be the bulb that just illuminates the speedometer itself. And this is going to be your neutral indicator. So let's get some 12 volt power from a battery charger. Looks like we should have a... Okay, there's two different greens, two different grounds. We got to figure out which one goes to where, because since we can't tell. Let's just hook it. Oh, wrong. So let's hook a negative of the battery charger to one of those greens. Now, if that's the green that goes to the high beam indicator, we should get a bulb come on. And we did. Okay. The other one is this brown wire that goes to the illumination. I don't think those grounds are shared. No, they're not shared. So I think if we switch to the other ground, yeah, now we've got the, hopefully you guys are seeing that. So now I'm touching it to the brown wire, which is the illumination for the speedometer. All right. So there are, 6 wires here. 2 of them are grounds. They're solid green, and they go to the illumination and the high beam indicator, which are the brown and the blue wire. So those 4 wires, one green goes to one green goes to the other. You just kind of got to figure out which one goes where. And then you're down to these 2 wires, which go to the neutral indicator bulb. And the way that works is it has a black wire, which is actually your 12 volts positive coming in. And when you shift the bike, the shifting mechanism, when it goes into gear, now it grounds against the case and provides ground up through this green and yellow or green and red wire. So when I hit, if I can push that in there far enough, and I can get those to touch. There. So now we've got the neutral indicator light come on. All right, so now we know everything in that is just fine. Let's move on to something else. Get my wires out of the way here. Turn signals. And I haven't cleaned any of this up first. I kind of want to make sure that they're going to work before I spend a lot of effort in cleaning them up. And that's just because I'm lazy, and if these don't work, I'll grab another set. Alright, so yeah, that has the original 6 volt bulb in it. So for the turn signals, I'm going to use an 1156. So now we should be able to hook, and since there's only one wire coming out of it, you should be able to hook the negative of the battery charger just to ground to the arm, and then, oh no! Well, oh, there it is. We weren't getting a good ground to the arm, so I wonder if we get it, if we hook it out here, because this is where it's got to pick up its ground at. It gets grounded by being bolted to the frame. So somewhere between here and through here we are not getting a ground. We lose it. But see, we get it when we get up here. So I'm going to have to take this apart, pull that apart, clean that, and make sure that we're getting ground between that case and the mounting arm right here, because obviously we are not right now. That's kind of a bummer. Bummer. Okay, we know we have to fix that one. Let's take a look at this one real quick. Sorry, I probably should have had these off and prepared. Some of you guys say you like longer videos, you like seeing all this stuff, so hopefully that's the case. All right, let's see if we have anything different on this one. We should just be able to grab it there. There we go. Now that one's got good ground. And obviously it's not flashing because we don't have a flasher in line here yet. So we're just checking to make sure our wiring's good. Yeah, so that one's fine. We don't have to do anything to that one other than clean it up. One of the things that this bike was missing when I got it was the rear turn signals. And had a subscriber, Matt, in Nebraska, who reached out to me, and actually quite a few of you reached out to me and said, hey, I have rear turn signals if you want them, if you need them. Matt was the first one to reach out, so I accepted Matt's offer, and we did a little horse trading, and I sent him something, and he sent me this rear turn signal mount to fit on the bike. So that's awesome. I've already kind of cleaned it up and painted it. Matt, thank you very much. Give me just a second here, and let's see if what he sent us is going to work. I painted it. I probably should have taken some of the paint off of the mount, because that's where it gets its ground, is from where it mounts to the bike. We'll first try it over here. Now that one works. The wiring's good. And that one works too. Yeah, we're good. Awesome. So on this, I'll have to clean up the chrome part yet. Just put it, take a wire wheel and just kind of buff that up a little bit, and then that piece is actually ready to go. I ordered a 12-volt headlight. But if you saw the videos on the build before this bike, the little Honda DAX that we put a Lifan in, we ordered it with a 12-volt headlight, but as soon as we started the bike, we blew the headlight bulbs because they didn't put a 12-volt bulb in there. So let's see what we got this time. are no markings. Usually it says 6 volt and so many amp or whatever. Only thing this says is A3603, which I believe, from my experience, is a 12 volt number bulb. Let's, I guess we're just going to have to try it and see. So the bulb has a little nipple thing, little tab sticking out there, and that fits in the little area that's got the pointy thing there to kind of get you aligned correctly. The holder has 3 little tabs, and they're in a very unique pattern. If you have to have it clocked correctly on here to get it to all go in, and that just assures that you get the contacts here lined up with the contacts on the bulb. Wow, and I think I hit it the first time correctly. That's kind of odd. All you gotta do is just keep spinning it around until all 3 tabs line up with the openings. Push it down and turn it. So let's grab our power again. The green wire is ground, so we're going to hook that to ground. The blue wire is the high beam, so if we can sneak that in there and touch metal, yay, we got a bulb, and it's not blowing, so looks like maybe that is a 12 volt. And then if we can get, and then there's low. All right, so our headlight is good. And if you need to get 12 volt bulbs, you can order them from multiple sources, Trail Buddy, CHP, Mike's Mini Trail, eBay, Amazon, whatever. Let's see, as far as the last bulb I need to check is I ordered a brand new tail light because it was the old one was all broke. The original one was broke. And I have not opened this up to see what kind of bulb they installed in it. And I don't remember if it said in the description if it was 6 volt or 12 volts. So let's just check it out real quick. Let's see where this is a little taller. You guys, you're. I forget to look at the camera every once in a while and kind of make sure that you guys are looking at the same thing I am. So if any of that was out of camera view, I certainly apologize. All right, let's see what we've got. 12 volt, good. So it already has a correct 12 volt bulb in it. So we don't need to do anything there. Now these aftermarket taillights have a different wiring colors than stock. So I'm trying to figure out which one goes to what here. We've got a red, a red, a black, and a black and white. I don't know how, honestly, I don't know what any of them are. Well, let's just put 12 volts to the black, or I'm sorry, to the red. Well, it's not wanting to. That seems pretty bright, doesn't it? That seems the... Huh. So we got power with both of those. So I wonder if is the red the ground? I'm going to guess it is. I'm going to guess that the red is the ground wire. It looks like the black and white is going to be the brake light, and just the black is the running light. And I won't remember that when we go to reinstall it, so I'll have to do all this again and figure that out. But so we shouldn't have anything between the two of these, correct? Oh, yeah, we do too. Huh. I'll have to pull that out and take a look at that wiring and see. Well, let's do it now. What in the world they've got going on there? Sorry, I'm trying to get a view. So it looks like, actually, it looks like the black and white wire might be the ground, because it's going off to the side like it's grounding against, and these are the brake light. So is that the brake? I've got to put a bulb in it, Mikey. Yeah, I think that's what we got. I think actually the black and white is the ground, because I can tell that these two wires are going directly into the back of the light harness and are attached to the contacts on the inside. And this wire was kind of shooting off to the side like it was grounding against the case. So I'm going to say the red is the stop light, and the black is the tail light. So, all right, enough of that. Okay, next thing I want to do is go through the handlebars, but I'm going to shut you down for a second, kind of clean some of this up, get it out of our way, and then I'll bring the handlebars in. All right, guys, it's actually a couple days later from where the video just previously ended. Had some things I had to get done, so I didn't get to go move forward to the handlebars. I did go ahead and kind of clean up. I put the covers on the turn signals, cleaned that one up as much as I could. Put the speedometer on the triple tree clamp up there. And one of the things that when we were working on these lights a couple days ago, this particular light didn't have a ground. It's got it up here on the housing, but it loses it here. And I have to have a ground here because that's where it bolts to the bike, and that's where it's going to pick up its ground. So I think what we're going to do is take this apart. I mean, more than likely, we just need to clean something here between this post and the housing. We've just lost connection. I really don't want to pull it all the way out because then I've got that wire I have to try and feed back up in there. I was really hoping to just kind of maybe tap it back and forth enough to without breaking anything. There, we got it. Now we've got ground there. Let's try tightening it back down, see if we still have it. Well, hold it on there. There we go. And I could have probably tried just to tightening that first to see. But we need ground right there. Ah, that's good enough for me. All right, so before we move to the handlebars, let's go. I'm gonna take you guys into the other room and we're gonna see what we can do to clean that up. I don't know how well this will film. There's a window kind of behind us here. I've just got a wire wheel in a drill press. Oh, too close. But you guys kind of get the gist. Let me get around here, away from the window. It's not perfect by any stretch, but definitely better than having the brown, rusty stuff on there. So I'm going to work on it just a little bit more and try and get some of the dull finish off of it. So let me finish this up and then we'll move on to something else. I was going to go through the wiring on these handlebars with you guys, just kind of walk through real quickly what each wire does and how it works and so forth. But I think I'm going to save that information for when we do the wiring harness and keep all the wiring together. So what I'm going to do for right now is I'm going to take the controls off the bars, which is just 2 JIS screws on each one. And it comes off in 2 halves, and then feed the wiring back up through the handlebars. This one's been taped, so I need to take some of that loose and retape it and kind of clean it up. Once I get the controls off, then I'll go back to the wire wheel again and just clean these handlebars up. But I'll save you guys that. That's literally just a couple screws and pulling it out, pulling the wiring out. So I'm going to go get that taken care of, and then we will move on to something that's a little bit different. So I'm not sure exactly what we're going to do, but let me get these handlebars cleaned up. All right, so I got the handlebars all apart, got all the wiring and everything off of them, got them cleaned up. They look actually not too bad. There's a little bit of stuff in here, but you won't see that. That'll be inside the clamp. I was able to, between steel wool and my wire wheel out there, I'm pretty pleased with how the handlebars turned out. They don't look too bent. I think we're going to be okay. If they need to be straightened, we'll figure that out once we get them on the bike. Excuse me. But as with every time you take something apart on an old bike like this and you don't know what you've got, when I pulled the turn signal, horn, and headlight high-low switch off, if you remember, there was some loose tape on it. Well, here's what I found. Each and every single one of those had been cut and then just twisted together, and they put black tape around it. So I'm in the process of going through and pulling that apart and putting these little solder connectors on there that have the shrink wrap built in. And they're pretty simple to use. My in camera, let me make sure. Yeah, let's zoom you guys in. All right, so I move you to about right there. So I've got my orange one. I've took the tape off of it, got it pulled apart. I found the size that I want. You slide it over, and there's a little bitty solder connection right there in the middle. Stick those together so that your wires overlap inside there. And then I just use one of these, which it's about empty. So hopefully this will get me enough to get all these done. If not, I'll have to use a heat gun or something. And just heat that up, get the shrink wrap to tighten around the wire. And I just kind of rotate that around that solder, get that to melt. And I can see it starting to flow to each side. Looks pretty good. So I've got 4 more to do, and then I can wrap all this back up again. All right, I was going to do a little bit of a wiring tutorial once I got everything, the bike put together, and I was ready to wire everything. But seeing that we had to go through and fix all these, I don't, for the life of me, I can't figure out why someone would have cut those, because it was right outside the handlebars. It wasn't up in the handlebars. So anyway, it doesn't make any difference. But I'm thinking before I install these back into the handlebars, I probably ought to make sure all this works before I wrap this up and finish my cleanup work on that. So we're going to do a little bit of a wiring tutorial here. If these bore you, I apologize. So there are, in this particular switch, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 wires. All right. There is a blue with a white stripe. There is a blue, and there is a white. Those 3 go together, and they go to the high-low switch. Now what we're going to use is our multimeter, and we've done this multiple times. We've got it set on ohms, and we're going to check the continuity, meaning we're going to check the circle. So if I touch my 2 alligator clips together, you should see we get a reading. I pull them apart, it goes back to 0L. So the way this works, power from your harness comes in and is hooked to the blue and white wire going up to the switch. If I hook the other alligator clip to the blue wire, you see we don't have a reading, but the instant I go to high, now we've got a reading. We've completed the loop. We've got power coming in the blue and white, going up to the switch, and then back down the blue wire set in the high setting. So we should not have anything on the white wire for the low setting, which we don't. But when you switch the switch to low, now the power is coming down the white wire to the low beam, and we shouldn't have anything at the high beam. So those 3 wires are good. Okay. The next 3 wires we need are the turn signal wires. Orange, I believe, is the left turn signal. Light blue is the right turn signal. And this gray wire is the power that comes from the flasher. So we will hook to the gray wire. Our turn signal switch is in the middle, so we shouldn't have anything to either one of these. Nothing to the blue, nothing to the orange. But I've got it hooked to the orange. If I turn it to the left turn signal, okay, so we've got a signal coming through. So now we've made a loop up the gray wire, up to the switch, and then out the orange. We switch it over to right turn signal. We don't have anything coming out the orange. It's now going to come out the blue. So those wires are good. And then back to the center. Nothing from either one. All right. So those 3 wires are good. So that leaves us with 1 wire that's left, and that is the horn button. And basically what the horn button does is the button itself is a ground, and it makes a connection. So the horn has got power to it. It's the ground wire that's disconnected. So we're going to hook 1 lead to the light green wire for the horn. And I don't know if you guys will see it. I might need to zoom in, but on the horn button right here, there's a little metal piece. And when you hook this to the handlebars, that makes connection with the bars. So right now, if I touch this alligator clip to that piece, we don't have a reading. Okay? But as soon as I hit the button, yeah, now we've grounded out that wire. We're completing the circuit, and our horn hopefully will make a toot toot. So everything seems to work. So that's good. So I will continue to get these wrapped up, cleaned up, and get this installed back in the handlebars. I've got this bar put back together. I don't have the little rubber grommet thing right there, so I'm not going to worry about that right now. I'll look around the shop, see if I can find some of those, and it didn't have it in there, I don't believe. I have one, but I think this is for the other side. It's got the smaller hole. So anyway, so I got that all back together. I put shrink wrap over the wiring, got it looking halfway decent. It'll look good enough for what I'm building. I guess while we're at it, let's go ahead and look at the other handlebar. It actually has a couple wiring pieces on it, and I haven't done anything with these yet. It has 2 things. The first one, we'll do this first. This is the for the front brake. This is the front brake switch. It fits. Actually, it goes in this direction first, like this. I'm not going to put it in there yet because I think I want to try and clean that up just a little bit. But there's 2 wires and then a little push button thing up here, and essentially, when it's out, how to explain this? It makes a connection when it's out. So when you pull the front brake lever and it goes away from this, it lets that plunger out, and then that makes a connection in here and turns on the brake lights. And then as the brake lever goes back, it pushes that in, which then disconnects these 2 wires, and the brake light goes off. So if your brake light continues to stay on, you might check and make sure that this is adjusted correctly and that your lever is actually pushing that little plunger in to make it work. Let's double check this one and make sure that it does work. Make sure you guys, yep, you can see my meter. So right now it's getting a reading. We're making a loop because the little plunger is out, just like as if you had the lever pulled. I let off the brake, it pushes that in, and this goes to 0. So switch is good. So that's good. So I'll just have to clean that up. I got a little break right here. I'll probably put some shrink wrap over that, clean that up. And then the only other thing on here is the kill switch or run off switch. And I actually have a video on this switch. If you go back a few videos, when I got this, it wasn't working. The button here was malfunctioning, and I took it all apart and cleaned it and put it back together, and it was working at the end of that video, so it should be working. And this is the same type of thing. Uh-oh, turn my meter back over. You've got in the middle is run, which is disconnecting the two wires, so we're not grounding out the coil. The instant you turn it to one run, or turn it to off in one direction or the other, now we've made a connection between these two wires, and the coil is being grounded out and will kill the engine. So off grounds out the coil, engine doesn't run. Turn it to run, and basically all it's doing is ungrounding the coil and allowing the bike to run. So that switch works also. So I'm going to take just a few minutes and clean up the broken sheaths. I'm just going to put some shrink wrap over it, heat it up, let it melt over it, and then I will put these in this handlebar, and it'll be ready to go. I'll probably, this is pretty rough, I'll probably just swap out that throttle cable and get something a little nicer looking there. So we'll just put a new one on. So, all right, let me get that taken care of. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to put on today's video is we're going to look at the horn. You can use the 6-volt horn. It works with the 12 volts. I wouldn't lay on it, and just, I'm not sure what would happen, but it actually, the 12 volts actually, I think, gives it a little more sound, a little more volume. Just hit the button, let off, and I don't know. I've never laid on it to see what would happen, but basically you've just got two spades, positive and a negative, and I don't think it matters which one is which. Yeah, I don't think so. Well, let's try it. So I've got the battery charger hooked up. Yeah, sounds about the same either way. I don't really think there is there doesn't seem to be any marking. The spades are the same width. Yeah, I don't really think it makes any difference. So, all right. Like I said, I think I don't know how long this video has gone, and I'm running out of time today, so I think we're going to call it quits. Our table is dwindling of parts. This is what I have left to clean up. Basically the body parts, a couple axles. I still haven't messed with the front forks, changed the gators and so forth. I've got to straighten up those fork ears where the headlight or the turn signals mount. So we're getting close. And then I have all the other parts got laid out here up on my table. And this is pretty much everything that we've gone through, new parts and existing parts. Now I did clean up the fenders and the engine guard, and I just flat black the underneath sides. They're a little shiny now. The paint is still dry or still wet. It hasn't dried yet. They'll dry to more of a flat black like the parts over there. But they were so rusty, so flaky. And the same way with the, I don't do the bottom, but the this side of the engine guard, I cleaned it the best I could, and it was still pretty rusty. And so you can start to see where it's starting to dry here around the edges. It'll go to a flat black. But I think we've got, what, a couple more videos. We've got one more video of cleaning up the parts over there. And then we will do a video. I have to assemble. I never have assembled the hubs and so forth and tires and all that. And then we will do one final video where we assemble the bike. So maybe 3 more videos after this. So guys, appreciate you following along. Hope you're enjoying it. Leave me a comment. Let me know. And we will get back on these things in just a couple days. Guys, I appreciate you clicking in and following the channel. Everybody have a great day. See ya.